The Zone Coverage Podcast Network.
As I just said to Tom Schreier before we started recording, it's time to talk about some terrible, awful soccer. Welcome to the Minnesota Soccer Podcast, in which the Minnesota portion of it will be dedicated to perhaps United's worst result of the season, if not definitely United's worst result of the season. And also we're going to talk about good soccer because the World Cup's happening, which is a great palate cleanser. But we need to talk about Minnesota United first. Nic Hallett, they lost to the worst team in the league. How do you feel?
I would feel really bad if they hadn't already lost to San Jose twice this season. I mean,
just throwing salt in that wound.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what are you supposed to say about this? It's outrageous.
And the caveat I will always say with this kind of result, not just with Colorado, but playing in Colorado is playing at altitude. And maybe there was some fatigue involved in the end of the game and stuff slipping in quality, et cetera, but like, I don't know. I didn't think this game was going to go this badly in the first half. The first half, like, they looked up for it. They looked like well-rested. Darwin was in fine form. They got a relatively early goal that was perhaps not as cleanly executed as it could have been, but Ibarra took care of business. And then you start to see the warning signs like 10, 15 minutes outside of halftime where they start giving up possession for no reason. They're just letting shot after shot get away. They gave up 13 corners in this game, many of which could have been avoided through like actually challenging the ball a little bit earlier so that you didn't have to block a shot out of bounds or like any number of things. And it's like the signs of that were there in the first half. I don't remember how many corners Colorado had in the first half, but they were pretty easily getting corners whenever they wanted to. And it was fitting that the winning goal of this game came on a corner kick. That had been Colorado's goal, was to punish United in the air, and they got the right hit in the 97th minute. It's just like I don't know what it was about this result that felt so off to me, because it didn't feel like at times United played that badly in terms of the individual player mechanics, but it felt like the game plan wasn't great.
I would just say, especially when you look at like the defensive issues in this game, a lot of times, right, when we talk about those for United, it's about the back four. But it's just to me, it's just like it's the midfield, and we've said that already. United is weak in that department, or just especially light in terms of depth. When you can really only lean on Schüller and Ibsen. And in this game, we have a guy who we've talked about on the pod as being kind of substandard in Colin Warner, playing from the beginning.
Playing his third straight game, which I find very interesting.
Yeah, same. And then Colin Martin, a guy who every time he started, and I think this game was the same, he's been pretty poor. He's been decent when he's subbed on at times, which has been nice. But every time he starts, he really does show that this is why he doesn't regularly start. And
he felt low impact in this game. Like he just wasn't involved.
He just does it. No offense to the guy, but he just has no upside. Like he's not bringing anything that's like splashy or like game changing. Nothing about his game is ever game changing. He can kind of just be a fill in, but nothing more. And when you already have a back line that's a little suspect, to be playing a midfield that has Colin Martin and Colin Warner, like this is the type of things that you're asking for.
And this is like this is essentially the lineup that they played in the U.S. Open Cup, just with Alexi Gomez playing left back, which he'd appeared as a substitute in the U.S. Open Cup game at. It was exactly the same lineup, and I'm like, I was fine with this kind of lineup in the Open Cup because I thought it was interesting to get a look at some different guys, maybe get Maximiano in for some minutes, get Warner and Martin in for some minutes, see what's going on. You're back in MLS play in a game you should win, in which Ibsen is available and came on as a sub. What's going on? Like,
Yeah, and maybe if you want to give some like credit to Heath, maybe he was like, all right, like I thought, like against Houston, like we lost that game in the Open Cup, but I thought you guys actually played pretty well in the second half, so I want to give you guys another game. Colorado's the worst team in the league right now, so this basically is a U.S. Open Cup game against the USL side in some ways. So I'll give you guys another chance to prove yourselves. And I want to rest Ibsen because Ibsen's a little bit banged up and the oldest guy on the team, essentially, other than Tyrone Mears. So I want to give him some rest. I don't know where Maximiano and Maximiano's still suspended, but Abu Dunladi, still kind of not sure what his status is. So and then the team depth is pretty weak as it is. So I'm going to give these guys a go. I think that's what happened here.
It seemed off to me. And like I have liked the idea of the 4-3-3, if not the execution of it in the games that we've seen it. And as we've talked about before, it feels like a shape that's crying out for, say, Francisco Calvo to occupy one of those midfield slots instead of one of the Collins.
The Collins, as they were infamously known.
Yeah, I already couldn't keep them straight for a while at the start of the season before I'd watched enough soccer. So now that I've got them straight, I'm still calling them the Collins because they seem to only appear together.
Right.
I don't know. I was happy with the goals. Like, the goals were great. The second goal was Ramirez, Quintero, Ibarra combining, scoring. I was into that. Like, they did. And Darwin had lots of time in this game where he looked really, really confident. Like, which was good to see. The opening 10 minutes of this game, they were just shredding Colorado, which, like, it looks like it can be there, and then it just isn't.
I think one of the conclusions, and it's kind of what I was saying prior from this season, is that maybe it's not as much the back line as it is, at times the midfield causing these defensive issues. And I think it's just when you think of, again, the narrative that we talked about with Heath constantly bringing up like player recruitment and signings, it's just clear that like this team needs to recruit like a center mid. Yeah. And I've said that numerous times, but this is just another grade A example.
And it's the takes after this game were pretty spicy, as you would assume, and I was not exempt from that because I have been as gentle to Adrian Heath's coaching credentials as I possibly can, and this is a game that makes me have questions about whether or not he's the right fit for the team moving forward.
Why do you say that?
You went out and lost the worst team in the league after 3 weeks off, essentially.
Yeah.
And
although it's not really 3 weeks off.
Well,
team,
it's
right?
you had the Open Cup games. You had like whatever you have. It's a result that's like when you're already kind of in a run of bad fixtures that like coaches in less secure spots in different teams in the league. A run of results like the one they've been on since the Kansas City game. This is like you've got the 0-0 at Cincinnati, you've got the Open Cup loss, you've got getting shellacked by Kansas City, and now you lose to Colorado on the road. In a team in which the coach had less tenure than Heath, that's the kind of thing, especially right before the opening of the second transfer window, that has people asking about your job.
A bit, especially also because, like I said earlier, he's lost to San Jose when they were bottom of the standings as well, 2 times.
Yeah.
Like, that's a bad mark against you for sure. I just think the lack of resources for him is very real.
Yes.
And that's why he mentions it so often. And it's like he just doesn't have a choice, not to mention Ethan Finley and Kevin Molino being out.
And the counter-argument then is we look at the signings that he's brought in this season already, of which Quintero is obviously a huge success.
Yes.
Alexi Gomez we have questions about, even if he's playing well. Maximiano has been more cold than hot. Pongop has been a non-factor in the minutes he's played. Ounde Eko hasn't played at all.
Right.
Heath can talk about new signings if ownership does not trust him to be the one to control those signings because they don't trust his scouting this season.
But we don't know how much. To me, from my and I'm reaching, I'm speculating. My take on the front office situation, the player acquisition situation for Minnesota United, is a joint effort between Heath and Lagos.
Yep.
So I don't think that you could pin, and actually, it could, for all we know, it could be more exclusively Lagos making executive decisions. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's something that we're not privy to, but are here to speculate about. The question from the ownership, then, if not necessarily the front office, is we are running on a smaller budget than most MLS teams are as it is. You've talked a lot about the resources. If the resources that we've given Lagos and Heath are not being maximized to their fullest extent, why should we go out and let this particular front office and coach combination go out and spend another window if we're going to get more players that are not impact players that create results in the MLS and elsewhere?
I think, again,
I'm taking the negativist position
I like
here because I think it's interesting.
Yeah, and I like it. Two things I would say, again, back to the resources. He's missing potentially his best center back in Calvo being at the World Cup.
Yep.
He has to rely on his best center mid being almost 35 years old. And his two arguably best outside mids are out with ACL injuries. Now, my theory is that people can have that take all they want about Heath's seat being hot, but I think they've the whole time had a long-term picture and planned to give him 3 years and had a long-term picture in terms of when they wanted this team to be at full speed and be as competitive as possible for the new stadium. So I think what you will see, what this first 2 years was trying to acquire a roster relatively cheap and seeing what's stuck. Throwing stuff at a wall and seeing what's stuck. All right. Miguel Ibarra stuck. We're going to keep him. Christian Ramirez stuck. Actually, he wasn't that cheap, but I digress.
Yeah, details.
Jerome Thiessen stuck. We're definitely keeping him. Things of that. Bobby Shuttleworth, he stuck. We are definitely able to lean on him, rely on him, and he's affordable.
I would put Rasmus Schuler on that list as well.
Okay. And so we're going to see who we'll rely on. And then keep trying to add pieces. Molino, Finley come back. Calvo comes back. Calvo sticks, comes back. And then now where are our holes? We've got 2 DP slots left. We're going to use those. We're going to be full strength coming into the new stadium. I mean, how fun does that even sound just now? Picturing Allianz Field opening with Molino, Finley, Calvo back, and potentially 1 or 2 DPs.
Yep.
That's exciting. That's really exciting.
That sounds pretty good.
And you could even argue, and this would,
This goes back.
This is uber pragmatic, but you could even argue the plan could be a 4-year plan because next year they could suck and they're going to be able to live off of a brand new stadium easily.
Yeah. This kind of goes back to the discussion we had before the season started about what the goals for this season should be and whether this season should essentially be a wash. And it's interesting because it's certainly not that fans are happy with how results have been, particularly lately, but I don't think there's any less excitement for next season amongst that. It's the how much do you believe in that picture as you've painted it being good enough to win games in MLS reliably at home and more relevantly in this case on the road. United have won 1 road game this season. Second game of the year, March 10th. They've lost every other road game in MLS this year, several of them comfortably.
Which is in line with what happened last year, essentially.
New stadium ain't fixing that.
Right. Definitely not.
And I'll phrase my question this way. I tweeted this last night in not so much words. United have 3 fixtures left before the secondary transfer window opens on July 10th. They have Dallas on Friday at home. They have Toronto at home on July 4th. And they have Houston on the road on July 9th, I think. Somewhere, or like 7th or 8th, somewhere that weekend. Is there a combination of results in those 3 games that causes a regime change to take place before the transfer window opens?
Like I just said, I
0%?
really don't think so. I'm at 0.
All right.
I think the plan is at least a 3-year plan, and Heath's a part of that, and it's how we, the front office, ownership, we're going to fully judge Heath and co. Or just specifically Heath, 3rd season. That's my take.
Yep.
And it doesn't make sense. What's your counter to say why it would be a good time to change coaches? Unless for whatever reason Heath has been the one making some of these signings that have gone poorly, and it feels like he's lost the locker room, and it feels like Lagos' belief is that he has enough talent and that he's not getting enough out of it. If those things are true, then maybe you would move on. I just don't think that's it, and I would say that I trust Heath's credentials enough that that he would be given that time.
Yep, and I think that is a more than fair position, and that brings we don't need to talk about the transfer window yet, but it is coming.
Yeah.
We're going to have, I think, 2 more recordings before it opens up with the games coming up, and so we've talked about what the team needs. I think it's interesting that you bring up the ever so good reminder of Molino and Finlay waiting, because I think trying to imagine how this team fits together when Finlay and Molino are back is all the more interesting now because of Miguel Ibarra's season so far. Because you have, if you assume no significant changes outside of them for now, you have kind of the same question we had at the start of the year, where Ibarra will probably be reduced to playing on the bench, because you assume if United goes back to a 4-2-3-1, the attacking 3 midfielders are Quintero, Finlay, and Molino, with Ramirez up top. And that sucks.
For Ibarra. I'm not too worried about it, because I think what Heath will do is just rotate regularly to keep everyone as fresh as possible.
Ibarra showed early in the year too he can be an impact substitute.
I was gonna say exactly, or that's another way to use them.
So it's one of those things that it's like it will be a good problem to have when they have it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. It was just one of those things that's interesting to think about. After Ibarra, I thought had a pretty gosh darn decent game again this weekend after a couple of down games in the Open Cup. Scored 1 goal, created another one, and is continuing to play like one of this team's better players this season, which is cool to see.
Yeah, totally. And it is like
it's much more of an emotional thought than a
for sure. And I think a lot of fans would feel the same, especially because Miguel's been with the franchise for so long. But I think it really is a net positive for everyone, because I think it would just allow a rotation of things.
It's strength and depth.
And think about right now, if United's in a game, their next game against FC Dallas, and they need to change something, they can't bring on anyone. They can't bring on a bar. He's already on.
Nothing they bring on is an upgrade.
Right. Or really offer something
different,
splashy, different. But when you have that full roster, then you have that.
Yeah, so it's a good thing to remember that they do have 2 very good.
Also, Molino is well versed at playing the 10, so it could allow Quintero to be rested at times too.
Yep, and that might not be a bad thing with the workload he seemed to have so far this season.
Yeah,
because
I think it's more likely it would be a winger rotation, and Quintero would stay in the middle.
In the middle, yeah.
But just having those 2 back provides so many options.
Do you think Darwin looks like his decision-making gets worse in the second half of games?
My number one question is just how much is he just switching off because he knows this team isn't competitive? I just feel like it's one of those things where if Minnesota United was top 3 in the West, that you're seeing Darwin firing on all cylinders and being a boss.
Is that the risk of a DP? Because they know there's another job for him, where an MLS player might go, I might not be on a roster next year.
Yeah, for sure. And it's like in any sport, when they get that fat 5-year contract, right? How often, especially I feel like in baseball, you see that drop off.
I mean, some of that's how old baseball players are when they sign those contracts.
Well, and it's not like he's coasting for entire games though. Like he comes out and has run roughshod over teams like first 20, 30 minutes of games multiple times recently. And then the second half, it just feels like he kind of runs into a creative wall to some extent, whether it's I'm going to run into 4 players myself and not look for the pass, or the passes over the top like the one that created the opening goal, or not the opening goal, created a chance in the first half. There was a pass over the top that he hit to Ramirez that just went off that I'm thinking of.
I think it's like a straw.
Those don't seem to happen in the second half.
I think it's like multiple straws that eventually break the camel's back, and it's just like, oh, I'm on a bad team. Oh, like I've played Ramirez 2 good balls and he hasn't been finishing them this season. That's frustrating. Miguel's like every time Miguel's open and he makes good runs, but then he can't dribble out of anything, and that's super frustrating. And then like my midfield can't keep any possession, like because I'm playing with Colin Warner and Colin Martin.
Yeah.
And then the defense just allowed a hilariously comical goal, and now we're down again. Like I think it's all those things weigh on him.
So you hit on a couple things I wanted to talk about moving forward from the grand scale back to the specific things about this game. How thankful are you that Alliance Field has grass next year and not turf like that turf in this game this weekend? Because holy cow, dudes are falling everywhere.
How happy am I, or how happy is Brent Coleman?
All of the above. Like Coleman wasn't the first one; he was just the worst time.
The worst timing.
Colorado had a couple of offensive players go down on good runs in the first half, just slipping and sliding out of nowhere.
Yeah, it was weird.
It was the field was just slick all night, and it doesn't seem like that's a great playing surface, and it bit United at a bad time. But like it wasn't just Coleman having an oopsie. Like it looked like there was more to it than that.
Yeah, I mean you can point that out, but everyone played on the same field, and United plays on turf at TCF. You know, so it is what it is.
Yep. I don't know. That's me speculating, not being in Colorado and having walked on the turf and seen whatever there is to see. Like,
for sure.
Who knows? Like that. It was just one of those things that it felt like dudes were falling over on independently of where they should have been, significantly more than in a normal game, and it did impact United on Colorado's tying goal pretty severely.
What's weird is I just feel like Coleman has been pretty average and like even like kind of substandard at times.
Yeah.
But he hasn't had like clear examples of it. And that one, it's like you can't really pin that one on him.
Like
But it does serve as like an image of like, he's not really killing it.
Well, I'll put it this way: it's not anywhere near as glaring as probably Calvo's top 5 highlight reel errors this season. So like,
true, also true.
Which shout out to Costa Rica.
But I would say one of the things I noticed in here's some way to like equate the difference though, is like Coleman did look very uncomfortable in possession.
Yes.
In this game, and that's a bit concerning.
Second thing, speaking of the events directly after that goal, how did you feel about the refereeing in this game?
Right. Yeah, I thought that was pretty bad call.
That was not a red card on the
Yeah, it's just unnecessary.
Not even a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and like the really frustrating thing, and they said this on the broadcast, is like, okay, maybe by the letter of the law, Miguel did deserve a red in that situation. Maybe that's understandable. But literally like 5 seconds later, after he did what he did, he got knocked down by a Colorado player. So if
Colorado player put his hands on his face, that's a red.
Right. So if what Miguel did is a red, that guy needs to get a red.
Should be 10 on 10.
That's the problem that I have. It's either both are a red or neither are red. And honestly, dude, like just have neither of them be a red.
I was gonna say, just give yellows to everybody and get everybody to stop.
Yeah, this happened in the Portugal-Iran game today. Ronaldo makes I don't know if you saw that game, but Ronaldo makes contact with some guy's face, and it's like by the exact letter of the law, you could give this guy a red. But hey, why don't you just ruin the whole World Cup for everyone, and give Ronaldo a red? That's so dumb. And thankfully, that ref had sense and gave him a yellow, even though the letter of the law said to give him a red. And that's what in this situation, it's like, dude, all's fair in love and war. They both did the same thing to each other.
Just hand out a round of yellows and keep playing.
So,
it was another factor in United losing this game because Colorado just ran roughshod over them when they went down to 10.
Yeah, and understandably so because the momentum had completely shifted. Right, not only were they now tied,
and that's one of those things
they
where
were down a man.
If you see fatigue, last 15 minutes of a game, down a man, running at altitude, not that has everything to do with it, but I think it was a factor
for sure. But let's also point out, Miguel does not need to do what he did.
No, he did not.
And I felt like, as much as I would agree, he shouldn't have got a red, he should not have done what he did, and he blew a gasket, and I don't know why, but it felt like the combination of allowing them to equalize and who knows what else, but he got way too hot under the collar.
Yeah, and it was, I think, because it was right after the
tying goal.
Yeah, it was right after the tying goal, so he was frustrated with that, and you have what you have.
I think, and again, maybe just speculating, but it's Quintero plays a stunning pass into Miguel, one of the passes this season. Miguel plays a perfect cross to Christian. They take the lead. Minnesota United should see that game out and win the game thanks to Miguel's play and assist. And he sees Kallman fall, and they get a free breakaway and easily equalize. I think that image and that all that context together is maybe what threw Miguel over the edge.
Yep. I was doing a little bit of scrolling of the MLS Twitter feed to see if they've announced anything about any rulings on that, because I have no doubt that the card itself is probably being appealed as to Ibarra's eligibility for Friday. Because, as you pointed out, who's coming in for Miguel if he's suspended on Friday?
Yeah, squad depth is weak.
Yeah, squad depth up top is going to be interesting. It's going to be fun if Alexi Gomez somehow goes from playing left back to playing left attacking mid in 2 consecutive games.
That's probably what
it's probably what the move is.
It's that or let's give Pangop a freaking start.
Yeah, Pangop's going to start against Dallas, which is
let's go.
That'll be what it is.
Why not? Why not? Who knows?
Yeah, and Dallas looking a little bit ahead are currently second in the West with 29 points.
Yeah, it's going to be
averaging
tough.
2 points a game and have only lost twice this season. Yeah.
It's going to be tough.
So it's they're at home and they got a result against Kansas City home. They are capable of getting results at home.
United
are.
Yes.
But they are also capable of losing hilariously at home.
True.
So I don't know. The fact that they got points against Kansas City, is that the last time they were at home?
Might be
the last time Montreal.
Oh, yeah.
Which they won. Did they? No, I don't remember.
Wasn't that the game where they allowed the penalty kick in the first minute?
No, that was the one before that, I think. They did beat Montreal at home.
Okay.
So they've gotten San Jose was that game, which is the one before the Kansas City.
Yep.
So drew against Kansas City, won against Montreal, their last 2 home fixtures, which were a month ago at this point.
Yeah, it's been a while.
It's going to be good to be home. It's going to be good for them to be home. They've played their last 1, 2, 3, 4 on the road now. So I don't think them getting a result is totally out of the question in this game. Not having a bar is going to hurt.
Or Dunlawdy could come in.
Yeah, or Dunlawdy could come in and attacking mid, which would be interesting. But, you got to go back to the 4-2-3-1, right?
I mean, not necessarily. Not necessarily. In fact, if it was Dunlawdy, a 4-3-3 might even make even more sense.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention if Maximiano.
I was going to say, do you play Maximiano in this game?
I mean, why would was it a 1 game? Is the red?
It should have been his.
I think it's a 1 game.
It should have been a 1 game suspension, I would think.
So I think a 4-3-3 and you play Maximiano, Ibsen, and Schuller.
Yeah,
and
I'd be into that.
Can we look up what's going on with Dunlawdy? Because that's what I don't know. I thought he was healthy. He played. Have we not seen him since he played 120?
Yep.
Sketchy.
I don't know. I haven't been.
And he hasn't been on the bench.
Yep, I haven't been to practice. Couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I haven't either, and he hasn't been on the bench.
Well, again, and that's part of the thing with them not being at home for a month is they haven't really practiced much at home for about a month.
No, they have not.
So we haven't had that opportunity to get in there.
It's been limited.
Last bits of MLS cleanup before we move on to some World Cup action. Did you see the All-Star team selections?
I did not.
6 of the Fan 11 are Atlanta United players.
It's almost like that's the franchise with the best attendance or something.
Martinez, Nagbe, Almiron, Barco, Parkhurst, and Guzan.
Also, their team's sick.
Also, their team is sick. Like, that's the thing. Like,
hard to argue.
The only one I have questions with in terms of performance that got voted to this is probably Zlatan. But Zlatan was always going to get voted under this because he's Zlatan and Zlatan's. Like, yeah. But the full team is Martinez from Atlanta, Ibrahimovic from Galaxy, Vela from LAFC, Nagbe from Atlanta, Diego Valeri from Portland, Almiron from Atlanta, Barca from Atlanta, Zusi from Kansas City.
It's a sick team.
Parkhurst from Atlanta, Laurent Chiman from LAFC, and Guzan from Atlanta. So no Minnesota players anywhere close. Probably none of them should be. You have what you have. And the game is in Atlanta, too. So, like, it's going to be... I think it'll be fun. I forget who they're playing for the All-Star game this year, but it'll be fun. So, that's it. There's your MLS section. Dallas, the game is on Friday this week. I think it's United's only Friday game of the year.
Wait, who?
Weird.
That is weird. Who does the MLS All-Stars play?
I don't remember. MLS All-Star 2018.
We should have music.
Juventus. So
interesting.
Depends on who Juventus brings during European offseason, but that's a pretty fun half Atlanta United team.
No, either. Well, and it actually might be even more depleted. It'll be more depleted than usual because of the World Cup.
Although, I mean, Italy's not there.
True. That's true.
Hey.
But, I mean, also that Dybala's at the World Cup, Higuain's at the World Cup, Cuadrado's at the World Cup.
But at least
Steiner's at the World Cup.
Higuain's going home early.
Yeah, he is.
Shall we transition to the World Cup on that happy note?
Yeah, sure.
Argentina, good God.
Yeah. That was a scandalous result.
It continues to be scandalous. They play tomorrow, and allegedly the team is selecting their own team and ignoring their manager.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. This happens
just a total disaster.
This happens to one team every World Cup.
Yeah, and it's usually France.
It was France last time. But man, yeah, it's fun. They bring so much drama every time. There's so much pressure on them. I feel bad.
Man, and also the Croatia-Argentina game that kind of caused this meltdown, Croatia had the game plan and played it to a T. They were awesome.
Wrecked them. Well, let's as much as Croatia should get lots of credit. Let's point out that all of their dominance was spurred by Caballero making the worst mistake thus far in this World Cup. So there's that. Who's to say that game doesn't go a different way? Albeit, though, I was watching the entire game, and they were bad up to that point.
The level of ball denial that Croatia went for just to keep the ball away from Messi, which they stated out after the game that was one of their primary goals.
Oh, shocking.
Yeah, well, they did it as good as anybody's done.
Sure. But, dude, I don't know what Sampioli's doing because the team he's selecting around Messi is all Argentina has world-class talent in abundance, and everyone around Messi is who are you? He's picking guys who play in Argentina, in Argentina's league. That's crazy. He's leaving guys like Angel Di Maria, Higuain, and Paulo Dybala on the bench. Those three guys were on the bench to start this game, and you get smashed 3-0. It's what are you doing? You have abundance of talent. Use it.
So they're not.
Those three guys would be the best players on 16 of the teams at this World Cup. That's messed up.
Yep.
What are you doing?
And they are not dead yet, but they have to beat Nigeria. They must beat Nigeria no matter what to go through. And even then...
Yeah, what help do they need? They need something specific.
They need Iceland to not match their result.
So they just need Croatia to beat Iceland and win?
Yes. If Iceland and Argentina both win by the same goal difference, Iceland will go through over Argentina.
What if Iceland and Croatia tie?
If Iceland and Croatia tie and Argentina wins, Argentina goes through in second.
So they're in a pretty good place.
They're in a pretty decent spot.
They're
Although
in a good place.
Croatia has basically no objective to play anybody.
Yeah, but they do. They do. They've locked up first in the group, essentially.
Nigeria would need to beat Argentina and have a 5-goal swing in their favor.
Okay. So they do have first essentially locked up.
They have first essentially locked up.
Although if Argentina allows a bad goal in the first 10 minutes, they could be 5-0 Nigeria because they'll all leave the field or something.
just walk off. Yeah.
So who knows?
But to be fair, a forfeit of a game is only a 3-0 score, which is not enough to help the goal difference.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
if we're talking in those terms,
right? Frick, if you're Argentina, based on what's happened, you're in a good spot.
Yeah, you're in an okay
Croatia,
spot.
as much as you point out, like if you really look at it, they don't have a reason to play. They will.
Yeah.
And I think it doesn't really behoove them a ton to get Argentina eliminated because it's not like they have to play the next. The second place in their group goes to the other side of the bracket. So I think they'll play modestly well, and I think they'll win easily. But at minimum, I would think they would draw.
Now, the interesting scenario that I know could come up is Iceland wins 1-0 against Croatia. Not out of the question.
Sure,
Croatia
could happen.
Argentina wins 2-0 against Nigeria. Tied on 4 points, tied on goal difference. And then I've heard that the next tiebreaker would they be tied on goals?
Yeah, I think goals scored is
goals scored would be the next one.
Next one.
Argentina would have more goals scored in that situation.
So
I think if Argentina outscores Iceland when both win, no matter what they go through. I'm doing this math in my head right now, so if that's not right, I apologize, but that's what it looks like.
That sounds about right.
So, but Iceland can go get a result and have a very good chance of going through.
I mean, today...
Because Nigeria are not a pushover team for Argentina to play. They were pretty decent in their win over Iceland themselves.
Yeah, who knows, especially if Argentina, doesn't listen to their coach, which I think maybe would be a good thing.
Yeah.
And they could also blow the doors off Nigeria.
And then they would be fine.
Yeah. But anything's possible, honestly, on these last days. And today showed that with Spain drawing with Morocco.
Spain getting lucky to draw with Morocco.
How the heck does that happen? How does Spain in a clear must-win situation, but could sneak by with a tie? How do they tie with Morocco? So anything could happen on these.
And
days.
Iran getting a draw with Portugal, they were
also crazy
involved in that game.
Also crazy.
The two games today, I did not get to watch all of them. I watched the first half of Portugal-Iran, which was a very interesting watch.
I watched the whole game, and it should have been what you thought it would be if Ronaldo hits his pen, but he missed. Yep. He got saved. So that game should have went that, but credit to Iran, man. And I watched I watched every Iran game in this tournament. They frickin' battle every minute. They battle the whole time. So credit to them. But so anything can happen, honestly.
Yeah. While we're touching on done games, Group A also finished today. Don't think we had Egypt in last with 0 points.
But
in our predictions.
I think I had Uruguay, Russia going through.
Uruguay, Russia going through? Yeah, Egypt were not very good.
No.
And Saudi Arabia got a win today.
Yeah,
after
good for them.
Talking an immense amount of trash about them after their first win.
But also, who cares?
Yeah, right.
And Egypt probably is one of the... I think I said Panama, Saudi Arabia, the worst two teams.
And
Egypt's probably third worst. So who
It depends on how you feel about your Perus and your...
I like Peru. I'd take Peru over those
and your
3.
Costa Ricas.
Yeah, okay. Now, Costa Rica, yes. You can put it in that category.
Because Costa Rica are one of the teams that are definitely out.
Yeah.
They play...
They're literally eliminated.
They're literally definitely eliminated.
Yep.
They are gone. So that's... What else happened in Match Day 2? We touched on everything that happened today in Match Day 3. Match Day 2... We got, let's see, from the top, we had Russia 3-1 Egypt happened last week. Portugal scraping by over Morocco, Spain scraping by over Iran in the first games of those, which were both closer games than they appeared. I remember we talked about those because those were the next day's games when we potted last week.
Honestly, like, Spain looks weak right now.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, like, they look very weak to me. I don't know. I didn't get to watch all of the Morocco game today, but I think Spain is definitely a question mark right now. Like, they don't have the same swagger they've had in tournaments that they've done well on.
And I think the two quarterfinal matchups we have set are Spain-Russia and Uruguay-Portugal. And the way this Russian team has looked as the home team and the way Spain has looked...
That's a game.
That's a game.
Oh, that's a game. Both are a game. Mm-hmm. That's what's up. I mean,
Uruguay-Portugal is going to be fun.
We're getting to the filet mignon of this tournament because, like, this is when it becomes... Every game is a game if you make it through that group. And
even these third match day games, we saw it today. Every game is a game now.
That's what's been great about this World Cup is that everything it's been a game. There's been no scoreless draws.
Yep.
Like, that's amazing.
None.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty much every game's had at least some moments of fun to watch.
Yeah, it's been awesome.
Mexico looking to get first in their group and hoping Brazil doesn't get second in their group to avoid that potential matchup.
Yes, they're really rooting for Brazil.
With a clutch 2-1 win over South Korea.
The crazy thing is that Mexico there's a way that Mexico doesn't go through.
Yep.
Which is crazy.
Because of Germany scraping by.
What a goal that was by Toni Kroos.
What a
goal.
What a pathetic game by Germany that was for 85 minutes.
Yes, to some degree. But, like, I think what's so fun about all these games is, like, that game for like most of the Sweden guys is the biggest game of their lives because they don't play for top clubs. Mm-hmm. So they're like scratching and clawing. Like, that's what I try to embark on people is like, dude, like Iran today against Portugal. Iran, all those guys, you will never hear those names again. You will never see them again. And they're brushing shoulders with Ronaldo. Mm-hmm. Think of how hard they're trying. Like, think of how bad they want that. And that matters.
And that's Sweden had the chance to eliminate Germany from the World Cup outright.
And they almost did
it. And then that goal, which was a very good goal.
Oh, what a strike.
The other
probably goal of the tournament right now.
Yeah, so that's we've had some good ones though. We've had some bangers. So that's Group F, which is fascinating. F is for fascinating.
I still think Mexico and Germany will definitely go through.
Mexico and Germany should go through.
And Mexico is going to be...
I think in that order.
And Mexico is going to be gung-ho to win, obviously to go through, but also to just finish first in the group.
Yeah, they've got Sweden, which is a very winnable game for them. So that comes up on Wednesday. Then we have Group G, which was some spankings on match day 2 with Belgium 5-2 Tunisia and England 6-1 Panama, which the England-Panama game was another example of wrestling, only England got the penalties called this time.
Exactly. I mean, this group's gone exactly as it was predicted, and good for it. No offense to Panama, but get out of here. We don't want to see you.
I told you Belgium was good. I got heat for that take.
What?
You didn't.
I called them winning the World Cup. Do you remember this?
I remember that. I don't think we argued with Belgium being good. I think we argued with them winning the World Cup, Tom.
But they honestly...
They haven't played anybody, Tom. They haven't played anybody.
They have physically played games.
It is not a coincidence that the two top scorers in the World Cup have both played against Tunisia and Panama in Romelu Lukaku and Harry Kane.
Yeah, truth.
I don't think that's a coincidence that England and Belgium have, I think, the two highest goal they have the two highest goal differences in the group stage right now at a +6.
Are they both at +6?
They're both at +6.
Just dead even going into that Thursday game.
8-4-2 against +6 goal difference. They are dead even.
That's awesome.
That's the one that it will, if they draw, it goes to fewest yellow cards.
What
is the tiebreaker that it goes to next? And if they are tied on yellows, it goes to coin flip.
That's crazy.
So, like, that's how even that has been, even against those two teams. So, England, Belgium, Thursday.
Yes.
Biggin.
No, it's going to be fantastic.
So, I'm excited for that game. I'm excited for England and Belgium to both play real teams for the first time this Cup.
Also true. let's actually like tee it up. What's the opposing groups that they'll have to, like, winner gets blank, loser gets blank potentially. That's like the really interesting tee up. I mean, honestly, with Belgium though, like, they could win. They have enough talent. It could happen. Like, I think, honestly, and like, it's tough because they haven't played anyone real yet. But yeah, no, I would put them, if I did like a power rankings of teams, they'd be in my top 5 right now.
So the bracket as it begins to pop up, Uruguay, Portugal are in the top half. Spain, Russia are in the bottom half.
Okay.
In the Spain-Russia half, you have the winners of groups D, F, and H, which at this point will be Croatia probably, Mexico probably, and one of Japan, Senegal, and Colombia against the runners up from the other groups, which would be loser of England, Belgium.
Actually, Belgium and England win again. They have the weakest group, Tunisia, Panama in their group, and then their opposing group, who they'll be matched up with, is arguably the weakest group as a whole.
Japan, Senegal, Colombia.
That said, Colombia awoke against Poland and looked super legit in that game. So actually, yes, this is again important because Colombia you'd like to think is gonna take first in Group H, and you want to avoid them if you can.
Well, but the question with that isn't necessarily about the round of 16 matchup. It's the fact that you look at the Uruguay-Portugal half of the bracket, winners of C, E, and G. You could have France, Brazil, and winner of England-Belgium, along with Uruguay-Portugal on one half of the bracket. There is an argument to be made that one of England-Belgium should tank that game to get to the easier half of the bracket for a longer run.
But maybe because if Mexico wins the group, then your next game, your quarterfinal is Mexico, which you definitely want to take that over Germany.
I think it'd be France, but
No, but if Germany won the group.
Yeah.
That's a good, but again, for Belgium, England, like, it's kind of a win-win. Either you win your group and you get a good round of 16,
or you get on an easier half of the bracket.
What if you win Group G, get Japan, who you could definitely beat, and then Brazil finishes second, and you get Serbia in the quarters? That would be clutch.
I think the real preferred outcome would be if Switzerland and Serbia both managed to get results and go through over Brazil for everyone involved. That's not Brazil.
Yes,
but
true
that.
It's a great point.
Serbia getting a win over Brazil is probably a long shot, but it's like Switzerland have winning the group. I think.
They have a real shot.
They have a real shot at winning the group because they've got Costa Rica.
And Brazil's got Serbia.
And they've, I think all they have to do is outscore Brazil and win.
That's another one that's going to be really tight on goal differential because you'd like to
Brazil's up 1 on goal difference right now, and they are tied on goals scored. So Switzerland needs to outscore Brazil in a win. Which they've got Costa Rica. They can do it.
Man, that's going to be interesting.
They can take first in that group.
People don't realize, or forget, Switzerland's ranked in the top 10 right now in FIFA.
It's a pretty good team.
Yeah, they're good. And they showed it by getting punched in the mouth by Serbia and coming back and winning.
Boy, that game, I keep seeing that is a game that I need to go back and watch because neutrals have said that's one of the best 3 games in the tournament so far.
It was good. I don't know if it would be in my top 3, but it was very good.
So we have a chance to look at the last stage of the groups. We've seen the groups today. Who goes through Group C? France, Denmark?
Yeah.
France, Denmark. France has... they play each other tomorrow. that's one of those.
Here, let me pull. I was looking at the bracket. Let me pull up the. Now, if you're gonna try to pick that part,
If France and Denmark tie, they both go through.
a draw of convenience.
It's one of those. Yep.
Yeah, Australia would have to beat Peru.
Australia would have to beat Peru, and France would have to beat Denmark. And even then, well,
Goal difference.
The goal difference works if Denmark loses, Australia wins, even by 1 goal. So,
But France is through.
it would be a convenient draw if Denmark and France were to get a draw.
I don't know that France is going to give them that opportunity.
Perhaps not, but Denmark might try and play for it because Denmark can win the group if they win.
Although I've heard people are saying that France is likely to rest Pogba and others. So, but I still think France is so deep. I don't know. I'm still picking France to win that one.
Yep. So France, Denmark, first and second. I agree with that. It makes too much sense. Group D is.
You got Tina coming through, or what do you think? Is Messi pulling Tina through?
I am gonna take Croatia and Nigeria in that order.
What? Whoa! I'm picking Croatia, Argentina. I think they're gonna. It's gonna be so fun to watch. Like win, lose, or draw. That game's gonna be so interesting because they're just gonna get so upset. Like, oh my gosh! I'm picking Tina to sneak it out.
All right. I think Croatia have first locked up pretty much no matter what. So as we talked about earlier, so it's basically who you want to get second, and I think Nigeria get a result. I think they get. I think they get a draw.
I mean,
that's my call. I think Argentina and Nigeria draw.
You bring a team this lacking in unity to any match, like who knows what could happen with Argentina? So
if Nigeria and Argentina draw and Iceland beats Croatia by 3 or more goals, they go through. I don't think that's going to happen. Moving on. Group E is on Wednesday, and is the later games on Wednesday. So you have Switzerland, Costa Rica, and Serbia, Brazil. We just talked about it.
Brazil, Switzerland. Pretty clear. That one's so clear cut.
I will take Switzerland, Brazil.
Oh, got you.
In that order.
Got you. Brazil's got 1 goal on them right now. I'm gonna stick with Brazil. Brazil is first.
I think I'll take Switzerland. I'll take Switzerland to put like 5 past Calvo.
Wow.
Tom's not happy with that.
Boo.
How dare you say that about Calvo?
Boo.
Calvo didn't play in game 2. That's why they lost. Counterpoint.
Boo.
Also kind of interesting.
Just saying.
But they scored when he was on.
Yeah.
Both goals were scored when he was on.
Yeah, details. And Group F is the...
How about Brazil, Costa Rica happening? Freaking epic World Cup game. Minnesota United gets name dropped twice. Pretty cool.
Yeah, I was into it. Group F
Speaking of earlier discussions about Minnesota United roster construction, guys coming back, think of all the attacking options if also Johan Venegas comes back. Who's on loan?
They could recall that.
Heath and him, I don't think like each other, so I don't think it's going to happen.
Probably not going to happen. But
if he did, wow. Especially
maybe like Calvo's working on him right now. Like, hey, dude, we could do this.
Yeah,
we could make this.
I know
happen.
Heath's a jerk. I know he comes up to you after every game and says you were poor, but come on.
We can make it happen. So F is the interesting one for the Mexico scenario because you are correct. If Mexico lose to Sweden and Germany beat South Korea, which I believe are the matchups, you have all 3 teams on 6.
That'd be so
and then it comes down to goal difference.
It'd be so devastating if somehow Mexico fell out.
And there's
after the beautiful play they've had in these, like how is it possible that they could fall out? That's crazy.
Oh, now, if I may present a scenario to you, if I have the tiebreakers right, if Mexico loses by a score of 1-0 to Sweden and Germany beats South Korea by a score of 1-0, all 3 teams are tied at 6 points with 3 goals scored and 2 goals against at a goal difference of +1. Which I think goes down to yellow cards in a 3-way tie, which, boy, that sucks.
Yeah. And I think
that's actually right. Like,
I really want this to happen.
how much does it would be interesting.
It'd be
Like,
so interesting.
How much does Boateng's red card count in that? Does
I don't
it not
know.
count because it's red?
I assume that it counts for like 2 yellows, maybe, or something. Like,
I don't know.
I'm
really
sure this has been written about somewhere on the internet because I do not know the answer to that.
That's be a really interesting question.
And it's very possible. Like if both scores are 1-0, that's how the goal difference lays down. Like,
Or if man, wow.
Yep.
I don't know. I think Mexico will just get it done, and
Yep.
this won't be a thing. So
Yep. I believe in Mexico. I think they do it and come away with 9 points. Group G. Who wins England Belgium?
England.
I agree. Tom, you got your boys?
Belgium.
All right. I'm so excited for that game. That's going to be so much fun. I hope they both try. Nic Hallett, how many minutes of Tunisia-Panama will you watch?
All of it, sir.
Keeping in mind that it happens at the same time as England-Belgium.
180 minutes. He will watch it twice.
I will watch.
I have to do what Tom tells me to do. So
I will watch 0 minutes of Tunisia-Panama.
Yeah,
I will watch the highlights of the goals to see if there are any good goals, and that's about it.
I will watch as much Tunisia, Panama as I watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
A lot. 180 minutes.
All of it twice.
Got the entire thing on DVR. Your access to Nic Hallett's DVR is unparalleled on the Minnesota Soccer Podcast. And the last matchups in Group H, you have Senegal, Colombia, and Japan, Poland. You think that Japan has the most favorable matchup going against Poland, who hasn't gotten a point yet? But Poland, in theory, we're supposed to be a good team coming into this.
Yeah.
And we're ranked in the top 10 in the world and have been bad.
Yeah, anything can happen between those two, but I've seen Senegal play, and I think Colombia is going to smash them, and they're going to go through. And so, yeah, Senegal's hoping for a strong Poland win and then squeak through, which could happen.
Yeah, like it's possible. Senegal and Japan are right now perfectly, completely tied. So if Senegal does lose to Colombia, they need to lose less badly than Japan. Or if they lose by the same score, then we go to hilarious yellow card tiebreakers.
Yeah, I think Senegal's problem is that Colombia could smash them.
Yeah.
And that could be why they don't sneak through. I'm going Colombia, Japan.
Colombia, Japan in that order?
Yep.
I'm going to take Japan, Colombia.
All right.
Because I think Japan will win against Poland.
Yeah, that could definitely happen. I
think that's the call. So Japan, Colombia, because I agree with you about Senegal. If Colombia are awake, that's a win for Colombia.
Yes.
Shout out to the Colombian dude named Quintero, who's totally not related to Darwin, but is a baller
For sure.
for the Colombian attack. I've enjoyed watching him.
Yeah,
Minnesota United tie-in. Boom.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That means if England wins Group G, then they get Colombia, and that's tough.
That's a little more scary.
That's tough.
More arguments to tank, right?
Yeah, actually.
Because if Japan wins it, you want that Japan matchup, and you're on the weaker side of the bracket.
Yeah, no, it's a good point.
All right. That said, we've hit an hour. That means we should all stop talking. And that's about it. Tom, do you have any intelligent thoughts to add at the end of this episode?
Belgian waffles.
Now we know why he's rooting for Belgium.
He's
Just been thinking about breakfast foods.
He's certainly not waffling about his pick to win.
Heyo.
Count it. All right, we will be back next weekend at some point to cover the end of the group stage and all of the round of 16, which will be played on Friday and Saturday. So we'll have all of that to look through. And as Nick said, those are going to be great games. You're going to want to watch those. Go to a bar, watch them with people, drink beer at 9 in the morning. It's great. I intend to do that at least one of the weekends, one of the rounds this weekend because I'm in the Twin Cities this weekend. It's great.
Holla.
And so we'll have that in addition to a recap of Dallas. I believe we will be missing Tom Schreier for the next 2 episodes.
Headed to Summer League.
Tom is going
Dirty Vegas.
Tom is going to go make terrible decisions in Las Vegas.
I hope not. I might not come back then.
Well, we'll see what happens. I'm expecting at least a few interesting text messages from Tom Schreier. So there's your crossboat reference. Tom and Dane are going to Vegas to cover the NBA Summer League, which starts in 2 weeks. I am jealous because it is an awesome experience, so we'll have that coverage for you. We have Twins coverage. We have Wild draft coverage. We have... Does the Wild do Summer League? Is there an NHL Summer League?
No.
There's like a camp with all the prospects and stuff.
Yeah.
They do a bunch of scrimmages. It's actually really cool.
Oh, nice. Where's it at? Not Vegas.
No, it's at the X. At the XL. I covered it for 2 years. It's super fun.
Yeah, so not Vegas. NBA better.
Yeah.
I don't know. The XL, I understand it gets pretty wild.
Wild.
Hey, yo. It's time to wrap this up.
It's time. If I'm feeling this happy on puns, we need to go.
Yes.
This is not the thing. I'm David
Many
Naylor.
people have already turned it off at this point if we've had them.
I'm David Naylor, Prof. Cedar, Nic Hallett, Prince Hallett, Tom Schreier, T. Schreier 3. We will see you guys next week. Peace.